107.5 WBLS, your number one source for R&B.
I'm sure. Now, you know, and we know that only maybe a New Yorker could handle that, you know, so much. And, you know, you coming from New York and WBLS being a New York radio station, of course, I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite WBLS memory? What one thing stands out in your mind about WBLS?
Well, you know, there's a general and a specific. You know, I was a young DJ. You know, I was 10 years old, and I told you before, I looked up to Kool Herc, Africa Bambaataa, and Grandmaster Flash. And
Right.
as a hip-hop kid, right, I was very closed-minded. We in the early 90s thought that to fully embrace hip-hop, you had to hate everything else. That was the mentality.
Right.
And researching what those three guys played, I realized that they really weren't playing much hip-hop when they started because there wasn't much hip-hop. They
Right.
were creating it.
They were, right.
And so what were they playing to create it? Everything.
Right.
They were playing soul, funk, disco, rock and roll, reggae, Latin music,
Right.
Afrobeat. I mean,
yeah.
everything.
It was sampling.
Yeah. Yep.
of
It was.
sorts. Yeah.
It was the original sampling,
Right.
and they were playing records of all genres, and that was their process of creating hip hop.
Yeah.
And that totally inspired me and opened my mind. And I made it my mission as a young kid to be the DJ that people would play all music for all people all over the world.
Right.
And we were just talking about this off air, but who represents that more than anyone? No
WBLS.
other than Frankie Crocker,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So to me, BLS has been a source of inspiration since as far back as I can remember. And not only was it a source of inspiration, but it was a source of education. It's where I first heard a lot of songs, particularly songs of the era that inspired my album.
I want to
Thank
first
you.
commend you before we get into the album, commend you for being so young and being able to reach back and pull these legends forward and introduce them to your generation. Quite a few of them, I'm sure, don't know who they are, but thanks to you, they're going to get the credit they deserve.
Well, thank you so much. I must admit that I get emotional with you saying that, and I'm being you know, completely sincere when I say that. It's an honor just to be here doing an interview on a station that has been such a part of my life and has inspired me. But for you to say something like that is really all I ever wanted through the process of creating this album.
So tell everybody the musicians you chose for this album.
Okay, so over the past 4 years working on my album, I reunited 22 of the most legendary musicians of the late 1970s and early 1980s. But let me tell you really quickly how I even came to do that. I sat at my computer, the one that's right here, and I made a playlist in iTunes, and I called it Songs of Inspiration.
Okay.
And I put my favorite 25 songs from that era in that playlist. And I
Okay.
put them in chronological order. And they all fell between 1978 and 1982.
Yay.
Now, some of the songs on that list: Michael Jackson, Rock With You; Luther Vandross, Never Too Much; Alicia Myers, I Want to Thank You; Shalimar, Second Time Around; Frankie Beverly, Before I Let Go; Brothers Johnson, Stop; George Benson, Gimme the Night.
Right, now you're speaking totally. You've got our audience undivided attention right now.
Sylvia
because that
Stripling, Give Me Your Love;
Yes!
Ashford and Simpson, It Seems to Hang On; Roberta Flack and Donny Hathaway, Back Together Again; Chic, I Want Your Love; Sister Sledge, We Are Family; Diana Ross, I'm Coming Out. The list goes on and on and on and on to the break of dawn. Shaka Khan and Rufus.
Yeah.
You know, I Know You, I Live You.
Right.
The list goes on and on.
Right.
So I said, how do I get my songs to sound and feel like these songs, to capture the essence and spirit of these songs?
Right.
So the second step was I made a list of every musician who played on every one of the 25 songs. 25 lists: drummer, guitar player, bass player, horn player, so on and so forth. And after a painstaking process of making 25 lists, I found that I was seeing the same names over and over. And it became very clear that the producers and recording artists of this era were recruiting the same session musicians. These were the men behind the magic.
Right.
They were the architects of the sound.
Right.
So I said I need to go to the source. So over the past 4 years, I reunited 22 of those musicians. And here they go. Let's see how many I can get. You ready to count? Verdine White of Earth, Wind & Fire, Philip Bailey of Earth, Wind & Fire, Larry Dunn of Earth, Wind & Fire, Cool of Kool and the Gang.
Oh, wow, Robert.
His brother Khalees of Kool and the Gang.
Yeah.
George Brown of Kool and the Gang. Nile Rogers of Chic. John J. Robinson and Bobby Watson of Rufus. Ray Parker Jr., Wawa Watson, Ira Siegel, Freddie Washington, Marcus Miller, and Ndugu Chancellor, Jerry Hay, Paul Jackson Jr., and many others.
Paul Jackson? You found Paul Jackson?
Indeed. So I put these musicians in a room and channeled their definitive, prolific sound. All live, no machines, no samples, no covers, no interpolations. Then I said, now I need new voices to bring this music back to young people today. And the voices have to represent my generation. To speak to people of my generation. With their voice. And not only do I need voices of my generation, but I need voices that represent all genres of music. All voices to represent all people coming together under one sound. Voices from the R&B world, the pop world, the electronic world, the rock and roll world, all coming together under the sound of the greatest dance music of all time. And those voices that I united on my debut album, Paradise Royale, to write and record original songs are John Legend, Estelle, Kelly Rowland, Melanie Fiona, Mary J. Blige, Chromeo, Passion Pit, Neo, CeeLo Green, Robin Thicke, Jessie J, R. Kelly, and Usher. Now, there's somebody out there saying, where the heck is this album? Where can I get this album from? Well, the album is coming out later this summer, but right now you can go on iTunes, and there are 2 songs from the album there waiting for you to download and dance to. And one is, of course... Who's the musicians on the R. Kelly cut? So playing the instruments on Make the World Go Round. On drums, we have Ndugu Chancellor, who played all the drums on the Thriller album, amongst many other classic records of that era. So this is the man that played the Billie Jean drums, the most iconic kick and snare of all time. If I put on Billie Jean, my nephew, who's 6, will know what it is after 1 kick and 1 snare. That's Ndugu Chancellor. Playing bass on Make the World Go Round is Marcus Miller, who played all of Luther Vandross's hits. And now if you listen to Make the World Go Round and if you listen to Never Too Much, you'll hear the similarity of the style of bass. And Marcus Miller was an artist, you know, with albums in his own right. And he wrote hit records. He wrote The Butt for EU. Oh, yeah. But a whole lot. I mean, we could just. Oh yeah, but that's just one he told me the other day, and I didn't even know. Yeah. So that was a cool. You know, that was a cool one that kind of got me. On guitar, we have Ira Siegel, who played on all of Kashif's records, Evelyn Champagne King's records. If you listen to the guitar on Evelyn Champagne King, say Love Come Down, and even I'm in Love, and then listen to Make the World Go Round, you'll hear it. Also playing guitar is Wawa Watson, who played on every hit record of Marvin Gaye and Barry White. If you listen to Let's Get It On, that famous wah, 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 that's Wawa Watson playing on my record with the same guitar he played that song on. On strings and horns, I have Jerry Hay, who's the iconic horn and string arranger behind all the horns and strings on Off the Wall, Thriller, Brothers Johnson, Chaka Khan, George Benson, and every other Quincy Jones production. So it really is an all-star lineup of legendary musicians, and of course the one and only Robert Kelly. I love you. DJ Cassidy, thank you very much.